My best friend forgot to turn off her webcam, she said. Why can't you see I've loved you all along? I wasn't supposed to hear it. That's the part that stayed with me. Not the words. Not the silence afterward. Just the feeling that I had accidentally stepped into a room inside someone's heart that wasn't meant to be open. The call had already ended. Or at least, I thought it had. Her face disappeared from the center of my screen and I reached for my keyboard to close the meeting. But then I noticed, her webcam was still on, her microphone too. She didn't know. She turned away from her desk, sat down on her bed, and said something quietly to herself. Something I still remember word for word. Why can't you see I've loved you all along? I froze. My hand stayed on the mouse. At first I thought, there's no way she means me. People don't think of themselves as the main character in moments like that. You search for explanations. Someone else. Another conversation. Another person. But then she picked up her phone, looked at the screen, and smiled. Sad smile. The kind that doesn't expect anything back. Then she whispered, "You always ask me for advice about everyone except me." My stomach dropped. I closed the laptop, immediately. Not because I was uncomfortable, because suddenly I felt like I had overheard something sacred. We'd been best friends for 11 years. 11. Long enough to remember old haircuts, bad birthdays, career changes. Long enough to know each other's coffee orders and stress habits. She had been there for everything. When my apartment flooded. When I lost my first serious relationship. When my dad got sick. When I forgot my own birthday one year because life got too heavy. She always showed up, and somehow, I never questioned it. Not because I took her for granted, but because some people become so constant in your life that you stop noticing how extraordinary they are. That night I couldn't sleep, not because I didn't know what to do, but because I started remembering things. Thousands of tiny moments. How she always noticed when I was pretending. How she'd text. Eat something. Right when I skipped lunch. How she remembered details I forgot telling her. How she never made kindness feel dramatic, and suddenly, those memories looked different. The next morning she texted. Normal. Like nothing happened. Meeting moved to 2 p.m. That was it. No weirdness. No hint, and I realized. She didn't know. She thought her secret was still safe. So I made a decision. Not to confess, not to assume. Not to turn one accidental moment into pressure. Instead, I asked her to meet. In person. We met at a quiet park. She arrived carrying coffee for both of us. Of course she did. We walked. Talked about work. Weather. Nothing important. Until eventually I stopped. And asked, "Can I ask you something strange?" She smiled. "When have you ever asked normal questions?" I looked away. Then said, "Do you ever feel invisible to people you care about?" Her expression changed immediately. Not dramatic. Just still. She shrugged. Sometimes, I nodded. Then I surprised myself. I said, "I think I've done that." She looked confused. I continued. "I think I've spent years receiving kindness without really seeing the person giving it." She looked at me for a long second, then laughed lightly. "That's oddly specific." I smiled, then I told her. Not every detail. Not the webcam. Not the accident. I just told her. I'd realized recently that I might not always notice people enough. And I wanted to do better. Her eyes softened, she looked away. Then she said, "That's nice," but her voice felt careful. Like someone protecting themselves, and suddenly I understood something. This wasn't about whether she loved me, it was about whether she felt safe enough to be known. So I asked, "What do you need from people?" She thought for a while. Then said, "To not always be the strong one." That hit harder than anything. Because she had always been the helper, the listener, the reliable person, and maybe nobody had asked what she needed. Including me. So I did something very simple. I said, "You don't have to earn being cared about." Her eyes filled instantly. She laughed, embarrassed, then quietly asked, "Where is this coming from?" I smiled. And for once, instead of talking, I paid attention. That became the beginning. Not a movie moment, not instant romance. Just honesty. Weeks later she admitted it. She said she'd loved me for years. Never expected anything, never wanted to lose the friendship. I told her something too. I didn't know when my feelings changed. Maybe they had already changed long ago. Maybe I just finally looked. Months later she joked. You know what's funny? I smiled. What? She laughed. The one time technology failed. She looked at me. You finally listened. And I realized maybe love isn't always about grand confessions. Sometimes it looks like showing up. Remembering. Staying. Seeing the person who's been standing beside you all along. And stories like this remind us that kindness still matters.